are potentially way better, at least on the first completion. Retro Royale means that you play it like it was in April. So this is when the mortar was just released. There aren't as many win conditions with 42 cards. You're limited to a lot of things. There aren't enough cards for a good spell bait deck. Legendaries, Roll Giant, and Furnace don't exist yet. What a time to be alive! So the only difference is that these cards will have today's balances. So back then a Goblin Barrel used to cost 4 elixir and deal damage to the tower upon impact. It'll now have today's balances and mechanics, where it'll cost 3 elixir and not deal damage landing on the tower. This applies to all of the cards. In this era, win conditions you can use will be Mass Spawners, Giant or Golem Lightning, Defensive Rocket Spell Cycle, Giant Skeleton with Balloon, P.E.K.K.A. with the Wizard, Prince, Expo, Mortar, and of course, the classic Hog Freeze. In this meta, the Wizard was really good because everybody ran Minion Horde and Barbarians. There are actually enough cards to play Jason's deck, but I think with the advancement of the game and how players have learned more advanced ways of playing, there are more efficient decks out there. Plus the Elixir Collector costs 6 elixirs, so it's not quite as viable. It really ups the average cost of the Jason deck. So the system is really different. The max wins is 6. The prizes laid out are pretty sweet. At just 1 win, you're awarded 10 gems. Then at 2 wins, you get a dinky silver chest with the arena that you're currently in. 3 wins, you get a gold chest. At 5 wins, you get a magical chest. Then at 6 wins, you get 3,000 gold. And of course you get the 6-win chest of 600 gold and 25 cards. Really the jackpot is at 5 wins. 15% of the player pool will reach 6 wins, and 23% of the player pool will win a magical chest. Winning this challenge at 6 wins is over 20 times easier than reaching 12 wins. Alright, so joining us today is Wings from Orange Juice. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how long have you been playing?
What's up? I've been playing for about a year, since
April.
Yep.
How many challenge cards do you have?
I think I have about 280k right now.
That's pretty solid. So you reached number 1 last season under Kid.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you used that Hog deck. Tell me a little bit about that Hog Giant deck that you were using. And I noticed that it kind of evolved a bit too, like you started using skeletons.
Yeah, before that, like the season before, I used the same deck but with guards instead of skeletons.
Yeah.
I still think guards are good, but I think their buff just made them completely overpowered, so I started using them. I started using the log instead of Ice Spirit because everyone was using like Goblin Barrel and Spellbait, and it was really annoying. So I just put in 3 spells, so I pretty much always win against that, and I faced a lot of it the first couple.
So let's say there isn't like any Spellbait meta, and you didn't have to use the logging, never needed to worry about that. What would you put in place of that?
Either arrows or Ice Spirit. It had Ice Spirit before and it worked well.
That makes sense, like the Ice Spirit kind of cycles everything, but why arrows if Spellbait isn't an issue?
If there's not a lot of Spellbait, I'd go Ice Spirit.
Okay, I've actually been using a variant of that with Goblins. It's working pretty well for me. Well, how would you feel about this deck if it was in January's meta? Basically the only thing that you can't replace would be arrows and the log. Like let's say like none of the cards in there exist.
Yeah, you would just have Fireball and arrows, I guess. Everything but Ice Spirit, and then you would replace Ice Spirit with like, I have no idea, maybe Goblins, I guess.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense, like back then there'd be like Goblins to take care of like P.E.K.K.A. or Prince, because there wasn't that many win conditions back then, I guess. One question that's asked a lot is, how do you deal with Elixir Collector for this kind of deck?
So what I do is I just Fireball it, and then I'd wait for them to drop something big. If they don't drop something big, I just go like Hog, because if they don't drop something big, then they don't have an advantage. So I just go Hog. If they drop something like a Golem after they pump, I just go Giant at the bridge with like minions.
Okay, that makes sense. So you would always Fireball the Elixir if you're sitting at 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're not sitting at 10, then it's just a waste because you're going to be down.
Okay. So what do you usually use as starting? Do you, let's say you have a Giant, Musketeer, and a Hog, and Zap, or whatever. Would you put the Giant or the Musketeer in the back? Or would you rush with the Hog?
I never put Giant in the back. I usually don't put Musketeer. if they don't do anything, I just go hog, see what they have.
Okay, that's as the
Because
starting
it's
move to
not
kind of
really gonna hurt me.
reveal their deck. So why don't you like playing Giant in the back? I used to see Giant played in the back all the time, and Giant plays in meta.
You can just get counterattacked so hard, and then you have nothing to support it with, because the deck is like